is here for the show tonight to interview our special guest, show highlight the Alford Sports Talk Show. The Alford Sports Talk Show. Football, basketball, baseball, hockey, soccer, boxing, tennis, golf, and racing. The Alford Sports Talk Show. The Alford Sports Talk Show. Tune in for all the news and scores, reporting on the games and so much more. The Alford Sports Talk Show. The Alford Sports Talk Show. The Alford Sports Talk Show. The Alford Sports Talk Show.
Welcome, everybody, to another wonderful episode of the Alford Sports Talk Show. I'm Alan, and we're going to have a wonderful Friday night show coming right up. Okay? Brace yourself, because great times are on the way. That's right. We're going to have a wonderful day here on the Alford Sports Talk Show. Definitely pleased to have you join us here. Great thing is, the chat is available. Definitely, you want to voice your opinion. Your voice will be heard here on the Alford Sports Talk Show. It's going to be fantastic. Thank you so very much. Man, don't even know where to begin. So much going on in the sports world. Let's go ahead and start with the games that's going on right now. Major League Baseball. I said it. I'm going to start on the NLCS. I said it very early in the year, and I'm going to keep on saying it. To me, I just don't see, I said this before, I don't see any team really challenging the Dodgers, especially if you let them get a 2-0 lead on you or let them get 2 games in a series. It's just a situation where they're just that good. They're well coached. They play outstanding defense, and their pitching is just top notch. And they have so many weapons on their offensive side, with Ohtani and Betts. It's just tough to deal with them. And as you could see here in the series with the Brewers, that, man, it's just too much for them to handle. And I had to say, I called it, but I said it, and let me give you guys an update on the score here of the game. But it's just, as much as I like the Brewers, I think they're doing something special. I just don't see them having enough horses in their stable. It is the bottom of the third, 3-0 Dodgers against the Brewers. And I just don't see it. As far as anybody really contesting the Dodgers. And I would be surprised if anything less than a sweep happens on the NLCS side. I really would be. And it's just, the team is just so good. And now they got that playoff experience. It makes a big difference. So basically what ends up happening is they just, I just hope that, how you doing there, Tiffany? Really appreciate you. Tiffany Roderick, thank you so much. And I just don't see them really having any issues. I mean, they're gonna clean up the series against the Brewers, that being the Dodgers. And I said it quite early in the year that I just don't see any team at this point really challenging the Dodgers deep in this series or any series because they just have such great pitching experience. They have the offensive juggernaut in Ohtani, but it's not just him, it's Betts, Freddie Freeman. I mean, they don't stretch the zone. They wait for their pitches to hit. They kind of remind me of how the Yankees in the 90s used to be. They played small ball and could beat you on that. They could beat you on the home run. They can just straight up beat you any way you can think of. And that is just very evident here in this series against the Brewers. I predicted a sweep. If it's not a sweep, it's not going to be much of a series at this point. What do you think about the backlash, Hunt getting baptized before the Jacksonville game? That's a great question. That's a fantastic question by Chef G's. I think it was unfair criticism. You know, I get it that it was before a football game, but it was Sunday, and usually most baptisms do happen on Sunday. I just think that I think it's unfair for someone to criticize, you know, Travis Hunter because he got baptized before the game, and people were making comments that they feel as if he's looking at other interests per se because, you know, his rookie campaign is not starting off blazing hot like most of us would anticipate. I'm not really surprised because not that I don't think he's talented, but, you know, there is boy strength and there's man strength. And then I don't feel as if he's got his footing yet, meaning, you know, how he's going to play on offense, how he's going to be using defense. I don't feel as if the team even knows. They don't want to overuse him, but he's not getting enough reps on the defensive end. But I don't think him getting baptized was a distraction. I don't think it was something that was anything bad. I think that's a great thing for Travis to accept his Lord and Savior and to become a new man. That's what happens when you get baptized. You take a new life in the work of Christ, and he needed that for himself. And I definitely think that's going to make him a better man. And at first, you know, at all things, the law of ways should be is God comes first, and he's putting God first. You know, you can always get another job. It may not be in the NFL, but you can always get another job. But there's the hierarchy of who's in charge. You know, the making God first, that shouldn't change. But I do think it's unfair, but it just goes to show you that how our society is when it comes to faith. And even back when Jesus was born, they was hating on him. You know, people who followed him. He has a lot of followers, but not everybody followed him, and a lot of people envious and hated on him. As you can see, what happened in his book, in the good book there, the Bible, and he got crucified. But this is another backlash on Travis. He wasn't late for the game. He wasn't late for anything. He showed up on time. And again, most baptisms, my wife, and most of them happen on Sundays. Can you get baptized on another day? Yes, you can. But generally, it is on a Sunday. And he got it done before the game. And he's trying to make himself a better man. You know, like, you can't have it both ways. You can't criticize somebody for being immature, not doing what you want them to do when you want them to do. But yet they're doing things like this and getting baptized and making Jesus Christ his Lord and Savior number one. So just, it is what it is. You know, I hope that Travis gets his footing before the end of the year, meaning he gets the right amount of reps on the offensive and defensive end of the ball. I just don't think he's got his footing yet. I think he's trying to feel his way, and he's trying not to upset people like his coach, and his coach is trying not to upset people by not playing him too much. So I just think it's too much second guessing, and Travis hasn't found himself just yet. He's starting to get there on the offensive end. But we've seen this before. We've seen guys who have gotten Heisman who have kind of struggled in their rookie campaign. It's a new league. It's the NFL. What I mean by that is when you're playing collegiate football, there's a certain group of superstars. In the NFL, everybody's fast. Everybody's real strong. there's people who have more experience than you do. So these things matter. And he'll get his way. He'll find himself. I just think it's going to be a process. And once he gets through that, he'll be fine. But yeah, to answer the question, yes, I do think it's unfair the way, there you go, that the backlash that Travis Hunter is getting just because he's getting baptized before the game. If he got baptized on any one of the games on Sunday, it was more than likely going to be before the game. And these things are scheduled, but you don't necessarily schedule it too far in advance. So props to Travis Hunter. Congratulations on getting baptized. That's a big step, and that's a leap of faith. I can respect that tremendously. And he's going to be, when you become baptized, you're supposed to act like a man of faith. Some of the nonsense you did before is supposed to go on the wayside. So I'm praying that he becomes a great man and a great player. And he is a great player, but I just think he needs a little bit more reps, specifically on the defensive side. And I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be fine. I think if the league starts giving him kind of like the same formula that he did on both offense and defense, I think he'll get in a rhythm. When you play both offense and defense, it takes longer. Exactly. And it's twice the injury risk. So yes, I just think that I don't feel as if him and the coaches are comfortable with the transition. I just think there's too much second guessing. They're trying not to get him hurt and wear him out. But at the same token, he's not getting enough reps for him to get comfortable in the NFL game. But I do think it will come around. He'll get his footing. He will get it on the offensive and defensive end, and he's going to be the great player that we know he's capable. Just like Devontae Smith for the Eagles. He was a Heisman winner. He didn't play both sides of the ball, but it took him a little time to kind of get acclimated to the NFL game. Once he figured it out, he's doing phenomenal. He's got a ring already. So big things are happening. Shout out to Jacksonville Jaguars. The team is doing really well. So that helps. So he may not be lighting the numbers on fire that beat Travis, but his team is winning and they're doing great. And I definitely love what they're doing in Jacksonville. But yes, there's some great questions there. And I definitely do think Travis is going to be that superstar. And, I wish him well. I do think Shador is going to get there too. As he just has to be patient, say the right things, and just wait for that opportunity. And he will be in Shador. He's going to get that opportunity. And we have, Quasar Raza. Yes, I also agree with Chef Gaston. There you go. World-renowned chef. You got somebody agreeing with you. Faith comes first. Faith, family, that comes before job. And I think people get that mixed up. You can't put your job before faith, and you can't put it before your family, because you will find out, unfortunately, with any job, it can't love you back. That's what it is. It's a job. It's a way for you to make income. It's a way for you to pay bills and things like that. And it's a great blessing, but you will find out, unfortunately, that your job, unfortunately, is not like God and Jesus. It cannot love you back. And that's the thing. And especially if you're in corporate America, you'll find out. If you're in corporate America long enough, you will find out there's no friends, unfortunately, in corporate America. There's smiling faces and people be nice to you, but if there's a way for them to either eliminate your position and make more money, or make more money by giving you a lot more work, they're going to unfortunately go that route. I've seen it done before. And yes, and I did want to, speaking of that, give my thoughts on the whole, now that Molly Qerim we have a new successor for her position now. And I'm going to share my thoughts on this. And it's a lot. It's a lot, Okay. Let me just take a look here. You take Stephen A. job, might run for president. There you go. Well, one thing I give Stephen A. Smith credit on is that he likes to jump into politics. I'm not, I know about politics, but on a public forum, I don't know if I'm ready for that type of step, to voice my opinions on politics publicly like sports. Maybe in the future, but right now I'll stay in the sports lane there. And speaking of Stephen A. Smith, let me give you my thoughts on what happened with Molly Qerim. Okay. And I can't really say I'm surprised. Let me kind of give you some of the back his story about this. Stephen A. Smith, as you know, wanted to get a new deal from ESPN. He was trying to get 25 million per year. They didn't actually give him 25, but they gave him about 20 million a year, which is 20 plus million a year is still fantastic. Now, First Take, as Stephen A. Smith said several times, they are the number one show. So Molly Qerim is the moderator of the number one show, which is First Take. So Stephen A. Smith gets paid. Lo and behold, some months later, it's Molly Qerim's time for her contract to be renewed. And she wanted to get a big payday too. Not maybe like Stephen A. Smith type payday, but she definitely wanted to get a bump in her pay. And being in corporate America for over 30 plus years, I've seen this movie before. Hey, I'm on the number one team. We're doing great. We're all winning together. This person just got a big bump in their pay, being Stephen A. Smith. But there was two females, Malika Andrews and Mina Himes, who also in between after Stephen A. Smith did his contract, they were kind of like their contract was going to be up too. And allegedly they got bumps up in pay. So here comes Molly Qerim. She's the last one to come up. She's the last one to get her contract kind of reviewed. And they gave her an offer. She felt as if that offer was insulting based on being in a number one show, based on where she was getting paid versus Stephen A. Smith, Malika Andrews, and also Mina Himes. And the crazy thing about this whole scenario is before it became public that Molly was upset about the $500,000 offer, which came out later, I knew that this had to do about money. I knew it because I've seen this movie before. I could kind of see through the smoke and mirrors and see what was going on. Even though she's supposed to work allegedly to the end of the year, then it became she quit basically the next day abruptly. I knew it was a contract dispute. I just knew it. That's what it was. And I kind of put the pieces together prior to a lot of this stuff coming public because I just know, being in corporate America for many, many years, a top performer. Where Molly, I can understand where her being upset, I can understand where she would think she would want more money because, hey, my co-host got paid. These other two women who are in the network, not on the show, but in the network, they got a significant bump in their pay. So I definitely can understand where Molly was coming from and feeling that she should have been taken care of and not, quote unquote, given an offer that was insulting. I could get it. I understand it. Now, let me give you a little education about what I was telling you earlier about corporate America. This is proven what I'm telling you to be true. Yes, Molly was on the number one show. Yes, she wanted to do other things in the network. Maybe some of those things ESPN agreed with, some things that maybe they didn't agree with. And yes, she did deserve an increase in pay. But I kind of knew they weren't going to kind of give her a big bump in pay because there's only so much money that comes in. And Stephen A. Smith, not his fault, but he took a lot of it. And I know that's not Molly's fault and everything, but they want to make sure that he's happy because he does a lot of work for ESPN. He's on several shows and he's their big money bread maker. So they're going to take care of him. Now, what I was telling you earlier, this is where you find out that Molly found out the hard way that it's not show friends, it's show business. You know, what it is it's about the money. It all comes down to the money. It's not about personality or anything like that. They're like, you know what? She's a moderator. She's a pretty face. She chimes in here and there. And into the other two girls, Mina Himes and Malika Andrews, they actually produce more on the shows that they do, meaning they don't just kind of like moderate the shows and give, you know, a little snippet here, snippet there. They actually have to come in with a lot more knowledge of the topic because they are actually giving 3-4 minutes of their analysis and they get to speak for quite a bit of time. So they are putting in more work, I would say, as far as their content on their shows. So it's understandable to me why they would get paid more money. And it's also understandable to me, working in corporate America, why they would pay those two more money as opposed to Molly. Molly is 19, 20-year vet. These two girls are up and coming in the industry. Molly's more at the top of the pay scale. They are nowhere near that pay scale. They're just not. And they're going to get more of a raise than, more unfortunately, than what Molly is, because Molly's more at the higher end of the pay scale. Now, having said all of this, I would say I feel bad for Molly because I honestly thought in the beginning when this was a contract dispute, which I kind of knew it was, I thought she had something else in the rear, seat, in the back seat lined up, meaning she had another network or another opportunity someplace else lined up and using that as leverage to get a bigger contract. It's been a couple of, I would say, about a month or so now, and we haven't got an announcement of her having another opportunity, kind of like she's going into another role. I thought she had that lined up. Not having something to fall back on and kind of letting your emotions get the best of you and making an emotional type decision, that I would have to say I kind of fault Molly on. If you're getting a job that's paying you $500K or $300 or $400K, those type of jobs, no matter what industry you're in, don't come by too often. And if you don't have something that's competing in another network or something like that, you have to take a deep breath and say, okay, am I going to be able to get $500K someplace else? Because if you're not, then that offer you got was your best bet. You have to put the egos and emotions aside, because you can't really look at Stephen A. Smith and compare yourself to him. Yes, you're on the number one show, but most of the show was Stephen A. Smith's opinion and Mad Dog and, Ryan Clark and the other guys. That was their bulk of the show. Now they have Shay Cornett is taking on the position, but let's say it wasn't Shay Cornett. They could have offered, meaning ESPN, $150K to someone else who's really knowledgeable and very attractive, and they would have taken that job offer like that. And believe me and you, corporate America knows that. This is where corporate America kind of pulls you in. You fall in love with it, and they break your heart. I've seen this before. The only thing I fault Molly for, and she is I think she's an outstanding woman. I think she's a class act, beautiful, attractive. I just fault her for not having something to fall back on. Because if she had a competing offer, let's say someone else from another network said, we're going to pay you this. If you don't sign with them, you can sign with us. If she didn't have another offer to fall back on, then that's really kind of like on you. Me personally, working for a company for over 20 years as a top performer, I made a decision around the 15th year that I was not going to leave the company on emotional decision, whether it was they upset me, they diss me, or whatever it was. I was not going to make a decision of leaving based on emotion. I was going to make a thought out, logical decision that I didn't make overnight. Because, hey, you got 15 plus years in any place. You don't want to make an emotional decision on leaving because, hey, you got a lot of chips invested. So, yes, corporate America is not your friend. Unfortunately, that's how it is. And I pray that Molly finds something else. But I just feel as if this $500K is not a job that you can get someplace else that easily. I know it's a sports industry. I know people are making more. Stephen A. Smith, 20 plus mil. But there's also a lot of people making a lot less than $500K. You know, I don't know what the two girls, their contracts are, Malika and Mina Himes, but those two are more like contributors. They're not moderators. There's a difference. A moderator is someone, hey, you guys are going at it. I'm going to chime in and make sure you don't run on too long. That's different than being a contributor. The contributor would be like how, you know, a contributor would be somebody who contributes to the topic a lot more, has a lot more base and knowledge. You know, that would be Ryan Clark as a contributor, Mad Dog as a contributor, Mina Himes is a contributor, and Malika Andrews is also a contributor. They have to come in much more prepared, and they're voicing a lot more of their opinion. So I think she was comparing apples to oranges in that scenario. Plus, they don't have the tenure. That makes a difference too. And I think she was comparing herself to the fact that she was on the number one show and running that line that Stephen A. Smith was saying a bunch of times. Stephen A. Smith could get away with it because he's a contributor and he does a lot for the network, not just First Take, a lot all around. You can't really use someone else's kind of like quote unquote sales pitch. You have to curtail it to yourself. And I think that she, being Molly, kind of overplayed her hand. And unfortunately, she found out the hard way that corporate America has no love for you. Shay Cornett is the new woman in charge. And as far as people saying that they replaced her with quote unquote Snow Bunny, I mean, it really, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter because, again, if they offered 150K or 200K to someone else, whether it's Snow Bunny, as you would say, or another Latina or somebody else, a black girl, they would have taken the job. You know, that's just the way it goes in this industry. And that's just the harsh reality of it. And the network knows that. And that's what happened. You know, I think emotions and egos got caught up in this whole thing. And that's the reason, unfortunately, why Molly is no longer with the network. I mean, so I understand where she's coming from as far as her feelings, but sometimes you got to look past your feelings and look at, do I have another offer that's better? If I don't have another offer that's better, I kind of have to ride this out for a little bit until I get another offer that's better. So no shade as far as from me, from Shay Cornett. She's been with the network for a while. She's definitely credible. I think whether she's quote unquote what you guys say, Snow Bunny or not, I think that's irrelevant, to be real with you. I really think that's not even really a factor because once Molly resigned, she was going to get replaced by somebody else. Didn't matter if it was a black girl, Latina, or white girl. It doesn't really matter at that point. She was going to get replaced. So I feel bad Molly is no longer around. I really do, because I hate to see people relationship through corporate America end the way it did. But I can tell you 110%, I was not surprised. And I could kind of see through what was going on before the public details came out. I knew it was a contract dispute. I knew it was a money dispute. I knew it had to do something with Stephen A. Smith getting paid and the other girls getting paid too. I don't think it was just Stephen A. Smith contract. Mina and Malika Andrews, those contracts made a difference too. But again, there's those two girls. Mina Himes has been doing, contributing for a while. And Mina Himes is actually a very good, correspondent. She's a very good person who of wealth of knowledge, and her opinion is given a lot more than a moderator. I wish the best for Molly. I really do. And, I'm going to share this quick little story about Molly Qerim that happened in Tampa. And this shows you what type of woman and how great she is. I can't make this stuff up, but basically, to make a long story short, they were doing a show here in Tampa. I went to the show, and this brother was acting like he never saw a beautiful woman in his life towards Molly Qerim. I mean, hungry as all get out. Now, it was a lot of people there. We was in tight quarters. I've been in corporate America for a long time. I've actually used to seeing beautiful women. This guy acted like he never saw one in his life. And, salivating from the mouth and everything. So during the break, he asked for a selfie. Nobody else really did, but he did. Took a selfie with her. She was so gracious. And I was like, Molly, please don't take a selfie with this guy, man. Don't give this guy any confidence, man. Don't do it. And she did, because she's, classy, sweet woman. But when the break was over, this guy decided to jump in front of all of us and get right by the barricade, standing up instead of where the seats were, where you're supposed to be sitting down. He's now standing up in front of everybody where nobody can see, because he's trying to holler at Molly. So I'm like, oh, man, I knew it, man. She took the selfie with this guy, not this guy. Anybody but this guy. Don't take a selfie with this guy. But she did it. And lo and behold, when the guy was in front standing up, the guy to the right of me, literally shoulder to shoulder, because he was in there like sardines, was ready to throw hands with that guy. And I told the guy, I was like, listen, man, I was thinking to myself, I have absolutely no shot of talking out that guy who's trying to go for Molly out of being ignorant and just complete jerk. I have no shot of talking him out of it. But this guy here to the right of me, who's ready to throw hands, I might have a shot. So what I said, you know what? I'm going to take that shot, because these guys cannot be throwing hands here, right now. I did not come here for this. My son was right there in front. I was like, no, this is not going down. I told the guy to the right of me, I was like, listen, man, you're going to have to grill us up and eat it, man. You have to grill it up and eat it. The Brooklyn New Yorker and me had to come out and had to tell him, you have to grill us up and eat it, man. You cannot be doing that in here. Meaning, because he was ready to throw hands. The guy to the right of me, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I know the exchange, and I was standing right there. I know where this was headed. I was like, yo, man, you have to grill this up and eat it, man. You have to grill it up and eat it. Translation meaning, yes, I know the guy's a jerk. I even told him, I 1000% agree with you. Yes, I know that guy's being a jerk right now, and I agree with you. But you cannot be doing that in here. Period. I said, you're going to have to grill this up and eat it, man. You have to grill up and eat it. God is my witness, man. The guy to the right of me, I was able to talk him out of it, which was not easy, of throwing hands with this guy who was hungry like he ain't eaten in forever over Molly Qerim. And thankfully, I was able to do that, because otherwise, these guys would have been throwing hands right there in Tampa, right next to me, and I would have went viral for the wrong reasons. But the reason why I tell you the story is because obviously that's the type of effect that Molly Qerim has on some dudes. They just lose their minds. They don't know where they're at. I thank God that I have been around beautiful women. I know how to act. The guy in the front, I would say the guy in the front did not know how to act. And Molly, being sweet, taking the picture with this guy, knew it was going to be a problem, because it gave this guy confidence. And I was like, oh, boy. So I will never forget that interaction. And I'm going to say that at least I stopped a viral moment of Molly Qerim and this dude going on First Take, fighting on the set. At least I'll take pride in that. And that's a true story. Having said that, I wish Molly Qerim all the best with her new venture. I hope she gets something bigger and better than what she got at ESPN. I just kind of wish, in a way, you kind of wish you would have spoken to her before these things happened, because she would still probably be employed by ESPN. That's what I'm going to say. And I'm going to leave it as that. So, yes, that is my take on Molly Qerim, ESPN, Shay Cornett. That's a new host. She's going to be taking over First Take, ESPN First Take. Wish her the best. And let me give you guys an updated score. Let me switch gears here and give you an updated score. It is now 4-0. Dodgers in the bottom of the 5th inning against the Brewers. I'm telling you right now, the Brewers are about to, unfortunately, in my opinion, get swept on this series. And I said it before, not just this game. I think the Dodgers are the team that's going to repeat and be the champion again in 2025. I just don't see any one of the two teams in the ALCS really giving them a run for their money. Let me just call for what it is. Let me give you the score on that series too. Oh, that one's over, by the way. It's a wrap. The Mariners did win that game, so the Mariners do lead that series. Let me give you the final score on that one too. But props to the Mariners, man. You know, they're making this thing a series. Yeah, the Mariners final was 6-2. The Seattle Mariners are up 3-2. One more game for the Seattle Mariners, and they go to the World Series. I'm pulling for the Mariners to get this thing done. I'm curious to see how it would look. Seattle versus the Dodgers in the World Series. I'm curious to see how that would look. But I just think that the Mariners they're that team that no one would think they would be here. And I know Toronto is doing their thing, but I just feel as if something about the Mariners tells me that they're going to close the series out. And yes, so there you have it. I'm predicting the Seattle Mariners versus Dodgers World Series there. And yes, props to Rams Active and props to Snake, my man Jake Silver. All right. I appreciate you guys. Yep, there you go. And props to Chef Gaston. There you go. Appreciate you guys there, man. You guys are awesome. Yes, and I'm going to give you guys here my thoughts on the NFL, the games that we got coming up this weekend. Let me give you my thoughts also on Joe Flacco. Man, I can't even say I'm surprised that he balled out like that. I'm really not. Because look, the NFL is one of those places where the quarterback makes all the difference in the world for your team. It was unfortunate to me when I was watching the Cincinnati Bengals before Joe Flacco came in there. Jake Browning, to me, came across as a quarterback that was severely underprepared. There's quarterbacks, no kidding, in the UFL that, to me, was far better than Jake Browning as a backup to Joe Burrow. It's not even close. So much so that when Jake Browning was playing, I had fantasy football and the other person had the defense. All he had to do was have a decent game. All he had to do was have a decent game, and I would have won that week. As poorly as Jake Browning was playing, I was lucky to have a tie that week because he had nothing in the tank. He had nothing. To me, he wasn't an NFL backup quarterback. As a number 2 guy stepping in, he just wasn't at that level. And it was clear and obvious to me, and it probably was clear and obvious to the Bengals and the players. I'm not throwing shade just to throw shade. I'm being real that this is what I was observing, that the man wasn't ready for this opportunity. Again, if there's some UFL quarterbacks that I felt were much better than Jake Browning. The Cincinnati Bengals make a trade for the Browns, which I'm not surprised on that too. The Browns are infamous for making really not thought out decisions. That's what their MO is as an organization. They trade Joe Flacco to the Bengals. And I knew Joe Flacco was going to do outstanding because now you're putting a guy who does have a lot still in the tank with some playmakers. I mean, Jamar Chase, Higgins. You got some playmakers on the offensive end in Cincinnati, the guys who really want to play and really want to win. He was sensational. And not only that, I thought he could have actually had even better yards because there was a couple of balls that Chase just flat out dropped that were really balls that you don't usually see him drop, but he was getting so many touches. I guess he was getting tired of catching them all. There was a couple of balls that were easy catches that he did not convert. No harm, no foul. But yeah, I was not surprised that Joe Flacco did his thing. And I was not surprised that the Browns traded them to a division of someone in division because that's what the Browns do. They make these type of head scratching moves. But I was glad and happy for Joe Flacco because I love what he said. Somebody had asked him a great question. Why are you still playing at 40 years old? You have plenty of money in the bank. You got a ring. You don't need to take a risk of getting hit or injured. Why do you still play? That was a great question. He didn't word it in a bad way. And Joe Flacco basically said that, I know that when I retire, that's it. I'm not coming back to play anymore. So I don't want to retire early, so to speak, and have regret or have second guesses or say that, I should have played another year or so because if you retire a year, he knows that whenever he hangs up the cleats, there is no taking a year off and then coming back. He's not in his 30s. He's in his 40s. So he knows that. And he said, you know what? I love to play. I still have a love and passion for this. I want to continue to keep going forward until it's over. When it's over, it's over. And I love what Joe Flacco said. I love the answer. That's why he balled out on Thursday Night Football. He, to me, him and Jamar Chase were the two stellar, and Higgins. Those trio were just the stellar guys they all did exceptional. Props to Higgins for not scoring a touchdown and knowing the situational awareness, making sure he took a knee down, so they had to take another timeout. That's winning football. And props to the Bengals on that big time win. And the crazy thing about it was we kind of knew this was going to happen. We kind of knew as that game was playing and Joe Flacco was doing his thing, you kind of knew that he was going to win that game. I had that feeling like this guy is gonna win this game, and lo and behold, he did. So props to Joe Flacco. Props to what he did. He balled out. It just goes to show you the quarterback matters. And so there's a question on here: did Jake Browning have a valid point about being benched for Flacco? No, he did not have a valid point. You were just taking Joe Flacco and putting him on the side for a moment. What were you doing? Meaning Jake Browning. What were you doing? You were playing abysmal football. Again, not trying to diss nobody, but I'm telling you for a fact, there's plenty of guys with an S that could have stepped into that role as backup and would have played better and performed a lot better outside of Joe Flacco from the UFL. No way, no, clear as day. And Jake Browning just seemed like he was not ready for that position. Maybe he didn't think he was going to get it. Maybe he just felt like he was going to be the backup to Joe, but he wasn't playing like he was the man. So Jake Browning did not, in my opinion, have a valid point. What sparked the offense? compared to Cincinnati was Joe Flacco. You got playmakers on Cincinnati. You just got to give them the ball. You just got to get them the ball. That's all you have to do. As a quarterback, you have to make the read and get the pass and where it needs to be and just get the playmakers the ball. Playmakers, Higgins, Jamar Chase, they'll take care of everything. Those guys have outstanding yards after catch. They know how to ball. So Joe Flacco understands that. And props to Joe Flacco, man. Props to Joe Flacco. And props to the guys who don't get that opportunity, because sometimes in life it doesn't come around, but you know that there's always that what if. And let me go ahead and switch gears here and talk a little bit about the predictions for this week. Okay, let me pull those up here for you guys. And again, this is for informational purposes. If you bet based on these picks and you lose money, I'll just tell you I'm sorry to hear that, but that's all I can tell you. So this is just for informational purposes there. Yes, the Bengals and the Steelers. I did predict the Bengals to win that. We have the Eagles and the Vikings. That's going to be a very, very good game. I do think the Eagles get back on track. They've been running the ball very good, but they need to get the passing game going. I do think playing an opponent like the Vikings who likes to pass is going to urge them on to throw the ball a little bit more. And I see the Eagles getting back on the track, starting to throw the ball a bit more and pulling this game out in a tough fought game. So I have the Eagles beating the Vikings, the Panthers, and the Jets. I would love to see them get their first win. And it could happen, but I don't know if it's going to happen against the Panthers. So I'm going to still say the Panthers over the Jets. And let me just take a look here. And then we have here the Saints versus the Bears. You know what? I'm going to go with an upset on this. I think the Bears going to pull this game out against the Saints. Chargers and Colts. It's going to be a very, very good game. I got the Chargers, Packers, and the Cardinals. Packers are doing good things. I'm going to go with the Packers, Falcons, and the 49ers. 49ers have been, and also the Falcons are playing great ball. I just think that with the amount of injuries, I do think the Falcons are going to get a gift there and win that game there. Seahawks versus Texans. I got the Seahawks. We got the Rams and the Jags. I think the Jags are going to come out and pull this game out. Titans and the Patriots. I got the Patriots. Browns versus Dolphins. It's almost a pick 'em there. But I got the Dolphins. Raiders and the Chiefs. I got the Chiefs. The Giants and the Broncos. They're going to face a tough defense there. One's a tough one too. But I'm going to go with the Broncos on that. Cowboys and the Commanders. I'm going with the Commanders. And the Bucks versus the Lions. I got to go with my hometown Bucks. Go Bucks. So those are predictions there for week 7. Week 7 there. And let me just go ahead and update something for you guys. Yes. And I definitely did want to go ahead and mention to you guys one more thing too. And that is the UFL. Definitely don't forget we have the UFL. Let me put this up here. Yes, we have the UFL showcase coming up here in Orlando in a couple weeks. Make sure you guys, if you haven't done so already, register for that, theufl.com. Make sure you do that. I know that people are upset about their teams. I did get that vibe this past week. You just got to stay positive. You got to stay positive. These are business decisions. They're not done to hurt people's feelings. They're not done to upset people. These are the tough things that happen. Me being in corporate America for as long as I have, happen. Stay positive, and hopefully your team will be back. Orlando Guardians, Orlando Storm, which is unexpected. I didn't think they would come back here in Orlando. I really didn't. I basically found out when they announced it, pretty much like a day or so before. So just stay positive. You know, don't quit on the league. The league needs your support. At the end of the day, I know you might be upset, but it's better to lose your team than lose the league. This league needs to thrive and make it. It is very valuable to the locations that do have it in their town and the community. And eventually, I feel like it's going to come full circle. If you lost a team, you will be back in line to get it regained. And usually, the venues that didn't make it, in most cases, was because of venue. If that does change, you're going to get it. So stay positive. So definitely. All right. So definitely what I'm going to say here too, I'm going to say one more time to guys that I really appreciate you. In fact, let me go ahead and give you guys some cool things. Let me go ahead and play a little song here from Sam Scholar Songs. Let me do that right now. Let me do that right. Yes, that is the great sound of my good friend here. That is Sam Scholar Songs. Really appreciate you. Thank you to Sam Scholar Songs and his beautiful wife, Mary. Really appreciate you doing all the music here on the Allen Alford Sports Talk Show. Definitely fantastic. And then let me also go ahead and let you know that all these songs are available on YouTube and Spotify. And the great thing is, if you want to reach out to Sam Scholar, you can get him at singalongwithsam@gmail.com. Singalongwithsam@gmail.com. Now, that email is for deals, not spam. Deals, not spam. So reach out to him there. Singalongwithsam@gmail.com. So there you go. And that's his poster there, too, right there. Really appreciate your Sam Scholar Songs. So, yes, we're going to go ahead and roll on out of here. Another great episode of the Allen Alford Sports Talk Show. Definitely appreciate you guys. You guys are always awesome. Really appreciate the comments. Really appreciate the banter. You guys are always phenomenal. Thank you for the chat messages. And thank you so much for watching another great episode of the Allen Alford Sports Talk Show. I will be broadcasting Monday Night Football, the Bucks versus the Lions. Going to be a big game. Make sure you tune in. I'll be back live on that. And then I'll be back again Friday night again. Same bat time, same bat channel, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Friday night, 9:30 p.m. EST time. Again, on behalf of the Allen Alford Sports Talk Show, really appreciate you guys. Have a great night. Be well. Be blessed. Have a great weekend. Take care for now.
It's the end of the show. Let's thank all the fans before we go. It's the end of the show. The Allen and Sports Talk Radio Show. Thanking our special guest. Thanking our sponsor.